All right, ladies and gentlemen. So after putting out my dueling videos, some people had a question, or at least I got one comment. I got multiple actually. People wanted me to ask about deep ret paladin gearing and PvP in general, right? Now, I am no expert on deep ret paladin PvP. I haven't played deep ret paladin in PvP in years. But from a theory crafting perspective, I'm pretty on point with most of these things. So we're just going to we're going to take this video nice and slow while I talk about Rep Paladin in Season of Discovery, gearing options and gearing advice and so forth and so on, as near as I can tell. Mm. So to start with, all the Rep Paladins that I've been facing so far. Now, let's not start there. Let's start with runes. So the elephant in the room, with deep ret paladins is the runes, and specifically, it has to do with whether you're taking Art of War or you're taking Sacred Shield. Because if you're taking Sacred Shield, you're going to gear completely differently than if you're taking Art of War. Most notably, Sacred Shield, you want more spell power, you want more plus healing, and you want a thicker mana bar, primarily because you're going to be spending a lot of mana on Sacred Shield and healing yourself, and suddenly your exorcisms cost a hell of a lot more mana, and yada yada yada. Art of War allows you to get away with having significantly lower of a total mana bar. Just because she makes your exorcisms go from costing like 250 mana to like 245 mana. It's actually kind of ridiculous. Um, what else is there to say about it? And of course, the gearing you want with Art of War is Critical Strike, but the gear that has crit chance on it right now, because we don't have access to our ideal PvP gear. Of course, I keep saying it. Our ideal PvP gear is Strength, Stamina, Intellect, Spell Power, and Critical Strike. So that would be your Avengers gear. That would be your Marshals gear. But right now, Blizzard is forcing us to choose between basically spell power and critical strike. So when you're doing Art of War, your mana bar suffers, but you can afford to have your mana bar suffering because you're using gear that has critical strike chance on it, right? Um, I I have mixed feelings about Deep Ret Paladin as to what you should be doing. If it was me playing Deep Ret Paladin, I'd probably be using Sacred Shield like 110 and 10,000%. And I'd be gearing to use Sacred Shield accordingly. So the gear that I'm using in my PvP videos would be the same gear that I'd be wearing if I was playing a Deep Ret Paladin. However, if you're hell bent on going Art of War, it's perfectly fine. But we need to have a conversation about your stats in general. So most people that I've been seeing so far in PvP, like in duels and so forth and so on, I think they're gearing similar to this, where their HP is decently high, like it's nearly 4,000 hit points. They're using basically three-piece Wailing Berserkers, and then they're using three-piece Knightly set from PvP. In conjunction, they are using plus 100 HP Librams. Yours truly is using. One second, we pause the video so we can see it side by side comparison. All right, cool. We should have the dwarf side by side comparison. So what I'm using by comparison is I have three-piece Lamellar helm. It looks like I've got helm, pauldrons, and leg plates. Those particular choices have been made to maximize the amount of mana I get while sacrificing almost no stamina. Let's see here. And the other ones, of course, are the imbued, three-piece imbued. So I'm using double plus 15 stamina PvP set pieces. So as you can see, if I scroll down here on my dwarf, I have, let's go to spell power. I have, like 87 spell power. This is if I ever actually get the final piece of the puzzle, which is the cloth epic engineering bracers for plus 21 spell power. And of course, I'm using the cloth waist piece that you get from Black Rock Depths. I'm also using a Cyclopean band. I currently do not have the epic ring because I've been trying to do a build that doesn't actually go into a sunken temple at all. Before I actually do make a video on a build where I have gone to the sunken temple and I've gotten the things that I should be getting and blah 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 blah. Chance to hit with spells and attacks. I think the one that you replace this with is the Juggernaut. Yeah, because it improves your chance to hit with spells and attacks, but basically it's the same thing, right? 16 stamina, just has an additional epic thing behind it, so it changes nothing. Yeah. And then, of course, the cape is a plus healing cape, stamina, intellect, plus healing cape. But you'll notice that there's a heavy emphasis on fire resist. So I have the fire resist head enchant. I have the fire resist leg enchant. I have movement speed on boots because this is a Reckoning Paladin build, not a Deep Ret Paladin build. Deep Ret Paladins, they get movement speed in their talent points, and it allows them to put a 7 more stamina on their boots, which is totally worth it at the current level. You can see the HP is extremely low. I actually need to use the food buff from Fellwood, the one that gets applied instantly when you're out of combat. You don't able to stop moving. To gain plus 10 more stamina for plus 100 more HP to hit that break point of getting over 3,800 HP that I've kind of very roughly identified that you need in PvP right now. So this build is extremely low on the HP. She's extremely high on the mana. Like, Jesus, this is a super thick mana bar when you gear your Paladin this way. Her fire resist goes, when in fire resist aura at current level, it's like 107 fire resist. I'm sure you've seen in the videos just how terrifyingly efficient that is. It's giving me something stupid like a 45% chance or a 50% chance, somewhere around there, to resist grenade stuns, not to mention the damage from grenades. And because of how fire resist mechanics work, I'm basically constantly... I'm never taking full fire damage. I'm always taking 25% or 50% fire damage reduction, making this thing incredibly tanky. This build does use Sacred Shield. And again, this is the exact same gear you would wear if you were a Deep Ret Paladin and using Sacred Shield. The main reason is because, as you've seen in the dueling videos, we have... where's my spell power at? Yeah, we have like 220-ish plus healing on this spell power. That's enough spell power to get your Sacred Shield up around 270 to 300 HP. Absorb, again, you can see that in the dueling videos. When I'm getting hit with spells, literally the Absorb is the Sacred Shield, or it's almost always the Sacred Shield is the Absorb. And whenever it says resist, that's also... that's the fire resist doing its damn job. What is there to say about this? Yeah, but we'll come back to the whole Sacred Shield thing in general. But I found that this build is relatively low on DPS, so she ends up engaging in mana wars a lot, which means that I've geared in such a way to basically have as much mana as possible, and in conjunction with Crusader Strike and Sacred Shield, it really allows me to engage in mana wars with my enemies, which has been proving to be spectacularly efficient in PvP so far. The Paladins that I've been dueling, however, I think they're using a combination of three-piece Berserkers, and then a lot of them are using, for the remaining three-piece set, they're using the Knights set, right? And you'll notice that this gives, the Knight set essentially gives them 2% more critical strike, but it has no mana on it, and it has no real spell power on it. It gives them like 2, I'm trying to look here. Yeah, it's looking like it's only giving you like 2% more critical strike chance, hit and crit, which I suppose is nice. No, only 1% hit and 1% crit. But you'll notice that the overall stats of the Paladin change, and this is where we really need to have a conversation, is that, yes, it has, over 4,100-ish HP with the stamina compared to my 3,660 HP. You can see the change here really fast. Let me scroll down so it looks a little bit more, scroll up, a little bit more dynamic. right? So one paladin has almost 4,000 standing HP. The other paladin has almost 3,800 standing HP. But there's an ocean of difference in the mana bar, right? 3,800 mana compared to not even 2,000 mana. So one of them has almost twice the thickness of the mana bar. We'll talk about why that's important later. The other one is using a stamina PvP trinket. The other is not using any stamina PvP trinket, so that brings it a little bit closer into line. So you can see their HP is actually a lot closer than you would think if I swapped out to a non-stamina trinket here. But I think the stamina trinket is probably best for a deep ret paladin, believe it or not, but not for the more resist. For the resist focused paladin, you're either going to be using Blazing Emblem or you're going to be using Mark of the Chosen. You're not going to be using a stamina trinket at all. So if I go over here and I go for Mark of the Chosen, the reason why Mark of the Chosen is amazing with this build is because it's so survivable and so durable that Mark of the Chosen will eventually proc. And when Mark of the Chosen is active, she's basically like a piece of Nax gear on your character. She is an insane increase in your overall stats. So you might as well use Mark of the Chosen with this build in the grand scheme of things. Or, of course, the Fire Resist trinket. But again, there's that ocean of there's that super thick mana bar that is the primary difference. The other build has almost twice the mana. If I go down to spell power, you almost have no spell power or healing whatsoever. It's all coming from, it's not even coming, I don't even know where it's coming from. But you'll notice that you only have like plus 20 spell power and healing. Maybe it's, yeah, so a lot of it's coming from the enchant, I guess, on your shoulders, yeah. So these builds are a hell of a lot closer in thickness than you would think. So if I bring up a calculator here, right, like, let's just talk about Sacred Shield. Now, before I bury the lead here, the point I want to make is that I think 3-piece Berserkers in conjunction with 3-piece Knightly, 3-piece, is it Knightlies? Is an error in gearing, and you're better off going with 3-piece Lamellar. Even though you end up losing, I think you lose 1% crit if you go Lamellar. But we'll go Lamellar here in a second. And the reason for this is you actually have certain breakpoints on your mana requirements as a ret paladin. Let me drink a drink of water here. This is an important concept to understand. You cannot neglect your mana bar, even as a deep ret paladin. The only paladin that can actually get away with completely neglecting their mana bar is Ret Reckoning specifically, right? That's a paladin that it's like 25, or I think it's 25 points into the Reckoning tree, and then everything else into the Ret tree. You do not have Repent, but you have Reckoning, and you have Eye for an Eye. You don't even have healing in combat, so you can kind of completely ignore your mana bar. But top tier Reckoning paladins like Drakova, we prefer to not ignore a mana bar, because when you give us a mana bar to play with, we just find uses for it. We find it useful. But Deep Ret is not the paladin that can completely ignore its mana bar. The reason for this is very simple. Your ideal combat scenario as a Deep Retribution paladin, okay, your ideal combat scenario is that you jump onto, especially with Art of War. We're talking Art of War here. We're not talking Sacred Shield, right? Is to have enough HP that you can survive incoming enemy bursts, and then to jump on top of your enemy and sit on them for as long as possible, putting as many auto attacks and Crusader strikes into them as possible, trying to get crits and Art of War procs to do as much damage to your enemy as possible before you have to bubble and heal yourself, okay? Or more ideally, before you have to repent and heal yourself. So it's important to realize that as a Deep Retribution paladin, you do not want to catch your enemy with Repent. That is not what Repent should be used as a Deep Retribution paladin. If you don't believe me, just go watch Venruki versus Drakova duel. You'll notice Drakova is not using Repent. To catch Venruki, ideally, he's using Repent to heal. Repent is best used on a Retribution Paladin to heal yourself, which means you're catching with grenades, you're catching with Goblin Mortar, you're catching with Gnomish Netomatic. You're using your trinkets and your grenade to get physically on top of your opponent, which is also why I like Fire Resist on the build. Because, again, having a 50% chance to resist nade stuns can essentially act as a repent. So I grenade stun my enemy. I get physically on top of them. I bitch slap them once. They are like, get the hell off me, and they try to use a grenade to get me off of them, but it's got a 50% chance to resist. So the grenade resists, and they're like, oh, crud. So now they have to use a trinket to get this paladin off of them or something else that they want to get off of them. But your ideal scenario as a paladin is to use traditional paladin catching methods. So that's Goblin Mortar, Gnomish Netomatic, and grenades in conjunction with Fire Resist to get on top of people. Or if you watch my duels, I'm using none of that. Maybe I've got the Fire Resist, maybe I've got the grenade, but I'm basically just pressing W and being tanky enough that I'm going to get physically on top of them anyways. Because in order to really do any kind of damage to me, the enemy has to stop and start blasting me with hard cast spells. Because with Sacred Shield, the instant cast spells aren't really doing anything whatsoever. I'm going to push them up against the dueling circle, and I'm going to, or, whatever other piece of terrain, and I'm just going to get on top of them that way. But you don't want to use Repent to really catch people. It can kind of be used to catch because it does last 6 seconds, and I can't remember if it triggers a GCD or not. But you can use Repent. So you'll repent somebody and you'll get like a second or a second and a half of runtime over towards them. But then your next course of action, because of how repent works, is not to bitch slap them. It's to immediately go for a holy light and to ideally go for 2 holy lights. So what this means as a deep rep paladin is you need enough mana to heal yourself to full while bubbled. And you also need enough mana to heal yourself to full while the enemy is repented or hodge stunned, right? So you need a thick enough mana bar that you can heal yourself to full effectively twice. And if you do not have a deep enough mana bar to, on top of doing all manner of combat things, so that might be, judgment cost mana, exorcisms cost mana, freedoms cost mana, cleanses cost mana. All seals cost mana, all that stuff costs mana, hodge cost mana, so you need a thick enough mana bar to both heal yourself to full twice. So specifically that might be 5 holy lights. So you need enough mana for 5 holy lights plus everything else that you might be doing. So like 2 to 3 freedoms, upwards of 5 to 6 cleanses, 2 hodge stuns, and then multiple judgments and multiple exorcisms, right? If you do not have that thick enough mana bar, what you're going to find is that, you can see this in my duels when I'm doing a lot of rep paladins, or you're watching them duel, is you're going to find yourself able to heal, but you don't have a thick enough mana bar to heal. And that's a massive gearing error on your part effectively. If you have opportunity to heal, but you didn't have a thick enough mana bar to heal. What else am I trying to say here? A lot of rep paladins make the mistake of using repent to catch their enemies as opposed to heal. That is really, really bad. Because you should be using your trinkets to catch people. But in their minds, it's like, I'm going to catch them with repent, and then I'm going to use my trinkets for damage. And you'll find that if you play enough deep rep paladin, that it should be the other way around. You use your trinkets to catch people, and then you use your trinkets and grenades to catch people, and you use your repent tactically. Your repent can be used tactically in one of 2 ways. To heal the full, to close on top of an enemy, or to run away from an enemy, break contact with them, do some gear swapping, and heal the full. So be advised, you want a thick enough mana bar to be able to use repent in just about any way you see fit, either offensively, defensively, or tactically. When I say tactically, that usually means it was consumed. Offensively means you used it to close distance. Tactically means you used to run away. or to break contact before coming back in again. Gear swap, trinket swap, all that stuff. Get a holy light in. Do some eating and drinking if the enemy also wants to do some eating and drinking. Yada yada yada. I would, if you use Repent in conjunction with Sacred Shield, in conjunction with a gearing that is better for Sacred Shield. So, for example, if you use the gear that I use in my videos, right, and you're a deep rep Paladin, Repent becomes absolutely terrifying. And the reason for this is because you have a thick enough mana bar and you're survivable enough, especially in conjunction with Repent, right? Because when you suddenly need to heal yourself as a Paladin, what are you looking for? You're going for Hodge stuns and heals. You're going for bubbles and heals. You're going for Repents and heals. Or you're just unfortunately having to, get deep dicked and just heal yourself while suffering all the damage from the enemy and hope that your Holy Light's crit and heal to full that way. Sacred Shield makes you so insanely tanky that you can use both bubbles, right? You can survive. You can use Bop, and then you'll survive long enough to use a bubble, and you'll survive long enough to use Bop again. It's actually kind of ridiculous. You'll survive long enough to use multiple Repents. You'll survive long enough to use multiple grenades. You'll use 4 or 5 Hodge stuns during the course of a duel. This is me thinking your Hodge stun is on a 35-second cooldown, which it'll eventually be with Marshall's gear. Currently, she's on a 45. She's not even on a 45-second cooldown. She's like on a 1-minute cooldown for Deep Ret. I completely forgot about that. She's on a 45-second cooldown for a Reckoning Paladin. She's on a 1-minute cooldown for Ret currently, which is sad. But you'll I guess you won't survive to use 4 Hodge stuns at 35 seconds. You'll only survive to use 2 or 3 Hodge stuns, which again you'll be using primarily to heal yourself. But this is giving you all the time in the world for your crits to actually and your damage to actually rank up. It's allowing you to engage in mana wars and so forth and so on. Reckoning Paladin is really good with the current gear that I'm using and Sacred Shield, but a Deep Rep Paladin might be even better because your survivable duels will last for such an extraordinarily long period of time because of how insanely survivable you are, that you're going to live to see multiple Repents and multiple bubbles, and it just makes the situation even worse for the enemy. So if I was playing Deep Rep Paladin, I'd probably 100% use Sacred Shield and just wear the exact same gear that my Paladin in my dueling videos is wearing, complete with fire resist enchants and so forth and so on. And I would just leverage Repent in conjunction with the massive mana bar and the fact that you're just not going to go anytime soon and you're nigh unkillability to just basically mana war people into the dirt, which is exactly what I'm doing in my dueling videos, except you would be even more effective at it because you're you have Repent to play with rather than Reckoning to play with. What else is there to say about it? But that's how I would do things. The Art of War Paladin, however, let's go over the Art of War Paladin. For the reasons that I've been talking about, Art of War Paladin, I don't think you should go Knights whatsoever. I think that's a terrible, terrible, awful, no good idea. And the reason is I cannot foresee this 2,000-ish mana bar anywhere near supporting you enough with Holy Light. I would be surprised if you even have enough mana to do your 5 Holy Light heals. Again, if you bubble and you do 3 Holy Lights to heal yourself to full, Repent the enemy after taking their burst nonsense to the face, surviving their burst nonsense with 500-ish HP, and then needing to do a double Holy Light with the Repent before engaging on them again. I want Holy Light. I think Holy Light's mana right now is 400. Okay, so yeah, so it's 660 at 60. Nah, that's level 54. Ugh. So we're using rank 7? Oh my goodness. View all search results. Yeah, sure, why not? Rank 7's not here. I just want rank 7. Where are you? Yeah, 465 mana, level 46. Alright, cool. Let me pull up the calculator. 465 times 5 equals, yeah. So maybe with a handful of... You don't have enough mana. You don't have enough mana to support this mana bar. Or this healing bar. So there's a very weird relationship that you really, really, really need to understand to be... to be good at predicting what gear your paladin is going to really be best in. Okay? And that is that... if you don't have enough mana to heal yourself, but you have the time to heal yourself, you've already screwed up, right? It's like, I need to heal myself to full, but I don't have enough mana to heal myself to full. Therefore, I have messed up in my gearing as a paladin, and I really, 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 really should have had light lieutenants. I should have had a thicker mana bar. I should have anticipated the need for a thicker mana bar. Okay, that's observation number one. Observation number two is, even if you've achieved having enough mana to be able to heal yourself, sometimes your heals are not powerful enough that you can effectively maintain the massive health bar, if that makes any sense. So, for example, let's say you need to heal 4,000 hit... let's say you need to heal 3,500 hit points, okay? You have a 4,000 HP mana bar. You've repented the enemy. You have enough time to put 2 holy lights into yourself. But you need those 2 holy lights to heal you for 3,500, because that's how much damage you've taken. Without plus healing, you might find that those 2 holy lights only heal you for 3,000 HP. Okay? And this will be a reoccurring phenomena that you find yourself in, right? You'll like grenades. You'll be, every time your repent is off cooldown, every time your Hodge stun is off of cooldown, you're going to be doing double holy light. You're either going all in, you're either trying to kill your enemy, or you're going, I need to heal, let me put 2 holy lights into myself. That's all the time you have, right? You Hodge stun them. Hodge stun has a 1-second GCD associated with it, which means you have 5 seconds to heal yourself. You can do double holy light. Repent, I think, is in the same boat. She has like a 1-second a GCD associated with her, which means it's repent and then double holy light. If your double holy lights are not powerful enough to top off your health bar, then this is basically screaming at you one of two things. It's saying that you either need to reduce the total amount of health that you're playing with in exchange for other stats, or it's telling you that you need to find some damn plus healing somewhere or some more spell power somewhere to be able to top yourself off better. Playtesting, theory crafting for TBC. This was something that I found was absolutely the case. Even more so when you have Repent, but for just about any Paladin, because again, Hodge stun is primarily used for healing. If the enemy runs away in a straight line from you for whatever reason, like you suddenly need to heal, and they spend that time to get distance from you, you usually only have enough time to do double Holy Light, and then you have to go run after them again. If you spend the time to do a third Holy Light, it's really, really bad, because that gives them enough time to mount. That gives them enough time to get a hell of a lot more eating and drink ticks. It's just bad. So, for example... it's going to take you 5 seconds to do double Holy Light. We run at about 8.66 yards a second. Actually, I think it's 6.4. 6.4 yards a second. That's when you have movement speed on your boots. You run at 8 yards a second base, and then movement speed on boots is a plus 8% of that, which means everybody runs at about 8.64 yards a second. I multiply that by 5. You can see that our opponent has ran a whopping 43 yards away from us. And it takes them 3 seconds to mount, right? So 8.64 times 2. Okay. So what this means is, what I just calculated here is that if you run at them and they stop to try to and they stop to try to mount, you'll end up being just over 17 yards away from them by the time they complete their mount, which is more than enough time for you to keep them in combat with something, right? You can exorcism them. You can throw a grenade at them. It's not the hardest thing in the world for you to keep them in, stop them from mounting. You're super close to them. Yada yada yada. Right. If you took the time to go for a third holy light to top yourself off, then they could easily mount just right away. That's not ideal. From a dueling drink tick perspective, you've given them. They've been running for 5 seconds, but they've only gotten 40 some or so odd yards away from you, which means they're only able to get like maybe 2 drink ticks in before you put them back into combat again. Like at best, they can get like 2 drink ticks in. But if you stop and go for that third holy light, they can get like 5 drink ticks in. It's actually, I think it's more like 4. Let me think. Yeah, it's 4 drink ticks in. So they can double the amount of drink ticks they get because you stopped to go for +1 holy lights. You just can't support it. So when you hodge stun them, double holy light. When you repent them, you double holy light. When you bubble, that's like the one time when you could theoretically go for 3 holy lights. But if you have good spell power gear, you just use bubble offensively, and then you do the double holy light thing. It tops you off, and then you're just right back on top of them again. So really, you can't support healing for longer than 5 seconds at any given point in time. All of this knowledge and theory crafting is pointing me towards going Lamellar over the nightly stuff. So let's replace this with Lamellar and just see what happens. The girdle. What are we using here? Ugh, I gotta change out that girdle. This is just a stat girdle. Jesus, that's terrible. Wailing Berserkers. Yeah, we want the Lamellar. I noticed that the Night Gloves do not have critical strike on them, but I think the Lamellar gloves do. Or it's just hit, crit, one of the two. Sergeant Majors, yeah, Sergeant Majors. So, the Lamellar gloves, level 51, okay. Yeah, so you pick up 1% critical strike on the gloves, which is nice, right? Because you're losing 1% hit, and you're losing 1% crit. Not 2% crit, and that's because the Lamellar gloves have critical, and the Imbue gloves also have critical, whereas the Nightly gloves do not have critical. Okay, let's get the Pauldrons. The Pauldrons do have critical, and you lose that, I do believe. So Nightly, Lamellar, yeah. So we're going to lose that 1% crit, but we're going to pick up some spell damage and healing and some absolutely much-needed intellect. So you can see our intellect is starting to close in on the amount that we need for those 5 holy lights that I was talking about, right? With Crusader Strike and with Judgment of with mana you get back from Seal of Martyrdom and so forth and so on, you probably have just enough mana to work with. We can make some more adjustments. Like I have no idea what belt I'm wearing over here. Let's see here, gear. I'm using the Blackrock Depths belt because it gives me a chance to hit with my spells, which is often needed on a deep rep Paladin, depending on what you need with Paladin. If you don't know, your Hodge Stun uses spell hit, I think. She either uses spell hit or melee hit. But your Hodge Stun, if you're like butt naked and trying to Hodge Stun people with no talents whatsoever, she has a 10% chance to fail. But she'll never say miss. She always says resist. So part of the reason why getting your hit cap up is so important on a Paladin is just to stop your Hodge Stun from failing. So you like throw it at an orc, and if you don't have any hit, it's like a 25% chance to resist, which is really annoying. But if you're hit capped, it'll only be a 20% chance to resist. My Paladin's not, I think she's nowhere near hit capped right now. The Dwarf is nowhere near hit capped. Which means I think there's a 7 or a 6% chance my Hodge Stun fails. So, I ended up taking these, let's see, if you look at the talents. So I have +3 here, and then I have 1% here, which means, yeah, there's only a 6% chance for my Hodge to be resisted. But I took that because it was super important. The gearing over here I don't think has that issue. I think your hit is perfectly fine. Let's see, melee hit, it's 4% right now. I would 100% swap out this belt for something that's giving me more mana. Anything and everything that's just going to increase my mana level. Belt and wrist are the two item pieces that you don't mind being cloth, you don't mind them being leather, you don't mind them being mail. Gloves also falls into that category. You don't want all if all three of these pieces are like cloth, that's bad. If all three of these pieces are mail, that's okay. If two of these pieces are cloth, that's fine. If two of these pieces are leather, that's fine. Hopefully you get the idea. But these are the three pieces of gear that are providing you the least amount of armor. So you can see the epic wrist pieces here are a plate, are barely giving me 300 armor. The gloves are giving me just over 300 armor. The belt is giving me just over 300 armor. But you start comparing it to the legs, like, 500 armor for the helm, 400 armor for the shoulders. Chest piece is over 500 armor. You get the idea. The cloth armor is 50, so I'm losing less than 300 armor, but I'm losing armor. The void bracers is the same. I'm losing like 250-ish armor, somewhere around there. But it's worth it to pick up the mana in my assessment. You just have to be mindful that if you're going to make anything downgraded to mail or less, make sure it's gloves, bracers, or belt, traditionally, for various reasons. But it's also usually a set bonus reason. These pieces usually don't have set bonuses associated with them either. Yeah, so we are going to swap out, I think, the belt for something a bit more mana intensive here. No, because there weren't a lot of good belt options in Season of Discovery. The Blackrock Depth Sash. So if I swap that out with the Blackrock Depth Sash, damage and it's also damage and healing, which is important, right? You don't mind damage and healing, but you gain 1% hit, which seal. That's the other thing to talk about. Seal of Martyrdom is a seal of Casino spell, right? Which means that you got to get hit cap for Seal of Martyrdom first. That takes priority over crit cap. So if you had to choose between plus 2% critical strike and plus 1% hit for Seal of Martyrdom, and you're not hit capped, you're probably better off going with hit. Mathematically, you're better off going with the crit, but it's a lot closer than you would think. So the hit cap is super, super useful here. This particular Paladin is not talented to be using. She hasn't gone into the prot tree to pick up Guardian's Favor and to pick up plus 3% hit with precision. She instead is going Divine Might and Spiritual Focus so that she can basically heal whenever the hell she wants to without having to worry about it. If you were going into the prot tree and picking up Precision and picking up Guardian's Favor for the better freedom, which is all the other option that you could do, of course, you would just gear slightly differently, right? Like this ring would get swapped out with something a little different, and yada yada yada. But you can see our melee hit right now is 4%, which is perfectly fine. You would just gear slightly different. You possibly also wouldn't need the epic ring either. Like this might get swapped out for just something else. But as you can see, our mana bar, our hit point bar is going down and our mana bar is going up. This is all perfectly fine because as I talked about before, you can't really support having that 4,000 mana bar without having any spell power or critical strike on you whatsoever. Your plus healing has gone up rather significantly from 20 to 66. So suddenly we have the mana to be able to support. We have the plus healing to be able to support, and we have a slight reduction in our health. This is just better gearing, is what I'm trying to say. I think your mana bar is even lower, which I don't really like. So again, I would consider gearing slightly differently. So for example, if you did the other talent thing here, let's switch it over. Let's switch. Yeah, sure. We'll go Armor Aura. We'll put 3 points here. We'll put 2 points here. Suddenly we are well over hit capped. Like insanely so. We only need 5% and we're at 7.2%. So suddenly the neck piece gets swapped out for something a little bit more supportive. So we go with a spell power neck piece. right? You can see the stamina, the mana bar is going up, which is good. We definitely want more mana. Spell power is going up, which is also good. HP went up a little bit. All of this is really, really nice. And then, of course, we swap out the Blackstone Ring for probably either a Chivalrous Signet would probably be best. Increase healing done by spells and effects. Or we go with the ring that I'm using, which is... I'm trying to avoid plus healing, if possible. Where's my... What am I using? I'm using a Cyclopean Band. All right, let's find Cyclopean Band. I think it's a rather high, believe it or not. Is it higher than a Chivalrous ring? Really? Yeah, it is. Interesting. Is it spell damage? Yeah, increased damage and healing done by 9. The good news with these two items is they drop in Blackrock Depths Arena off of the same boss. It took me a little while to get them, but not that bad. People run Blackrock Arena all the time. Lord knows there's a guy in my guild, a druid, who does Blackrock Depths all the damn time for the wild offerings, right? So you can get in there pretty good. But you got more damage and healing. More importantly, this has strength, stamina, and intellect on it. We're specifically interested in the intellect and the spell damage and healing. We took this this wrist piece for the increase in spell damage and healing. You'll notice that we're still using 3-piece berserkers. I got nothing against 3-piece berserkers, believe it or not, as a deep ret paladin. If you want to do that, you could easily swap out the 3-piece berserkers and do a mix of like knightlies or something, or you could just stick with berserkers. The plus 3% chance to get an extra attack on the same target after dealing damage with your weapon is amazing. It also gives you critical strike chance. We don't really need the increase in HP. We're already sitting very, very high on our HP, as near as I can tell. The only thing that I would suggest swapping out at this point would be these damn bracers for the spell power bracers instead. Stamina, agility, where are you at? Or even berserker bracers would not be the worst thing in the world if you have access to berserker bracers. But let's just swap them out with the invokers really fast. Yeah. So our HP is still over the 3,800 breakpoint HP. With the Wild Blossom Berry food buff, this will be like 3,966 HP. Extremely serviceable. Our mana bar is now looking decidedly healthy. I have played enough with a 2,500-ish mana bar to know that 2,800 mana is more than enough mana to get the job done with Crusader Strike and Steel of Martyrdom and all that stuff. Your spell power is probably going to look decidedly healthier than it ever has before. You have plus 100 spell power, so that means more powerful exorcisms. But more importantly, it's the plus healing that you're after. Again, your goal is to use Repent defensively more than using it offensively. Repent is not there to catch things; it's there to let you heal. We are surviving a little bit at this point off of the plus 10 TAM trinket. But I don't mind this too terribly much because the trinket is really, really good for ret, and it's on a 2-minute cooldown. But if we got rid of this trinket for something else, like a Gnomish Denomatic, or fire resist, or if we got rid of our librams here in exchange for fire resist, librams, we got rid of this trinket for something else. Just know that with the Berserker set, we're going to fall 2 below on our HP levels. That suddenly the Void Bracers might have to be swapped out for something else. I actually don't mind the bracers that I even have on my Paladin currently. The Sergeant Major bracers aren't the worst thing in the world. 14 stamina, a 6 strength is actually pretty thick in the grand scheme of things. But that's how I would build a deep ret Paladin if I wanted to use Art of War, and I was not interested, and for some reason I also wanted to use the 3-piece Wailing Berserkers. If I wasn't interested in using 3-piece Wailing Berserkers, I would still keep, I would probably go 3-piece Lamel, and I wanted to use Art of War. I would go 3-piece Lamellar and 3-piece Knightly. I might use different pieces of Knightly and Lamellar than what we're going to be seeing here, but let's just throw it on really fast and see what we're dealing with. First sergeants. Where's the knightly? Sergeant majors, plate greaves. Yeah. So we're gonna go plate greaves. We're gonna go knightly chest piece. I think we scroll down. Knightly, not lamellar. It's just knightly hauberk. And then yeah, so we pick up 1%. I think we're losing crit from the berserkers, believe it or not, but I could be wrong. Definitely using the 3% hit from berserkers, which is not ideal. Is this wailing berserkers still? Yeah, okay, so we need that as knightly. Knightly, knightly, knightly. Where are you? Knightly plate leggings. Perfect. And that also has critical strike on it. Okay, so we probably didn't lose much in the way of critical strike, but we definitely lost. The other thing, you can see our HP has shot up to a terrifying degree, partly because I'm using this and not the spell power one. But as you can see now, we kind of have more HP than we know what to do with, right? Which is problematic. You probably have more HP than you need. So I think Wailing Berserkers is probably the better gear set for a deep ret paladin. Oh, forgot to mention. So what you do in this case is you drop the plus HP librams and you go with fire resist librams. Because that is a source of increased HP and damage reduction effectively that does not require you to have more plus healing to be able to sustain it with your double holy light heals. Yeah, now we're looking good. And this trinket might come off the line in exchange for a fire resist trinket from time to time. But as you can see, we're still well and comfortably within the HP breakpoint. Yeah, so this has 3,866 HP. This paladin has 3,766 HP. It's important to realize that this is a dwarf, and dwarfs just have more stamina. So you'll notice that if I scroll down here and I look at total stamina, this has 2,888 stamina, and this has 2,098 stamina. Dwarves just have more base stamina. Okay, look at the numbers. So this humans have more base agility and intellect, if I recall correctly. So you'll notice that this human has 55 base agility and 82 base stamina. And if I go over to the dwarf has only 51 rather than 55 base agility. So he has 4 less base agility just because he's a damn dwarf. But if you look at the stamina, he has 85 base stamina at current level, and this is 82 base stamina. So he has 3 more stamina. And these numbers hold at level 60, basically. Paladins have more agility, or humans have more agility. Dwarves have 3 more stamina than a human. So if this was a dwarf paladin, this would be 3,896 health. But yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I like playing dwarf, is they have 3 more stamina. Sounds like a small deal, but it's actually kind of a big deal in my personal opinion. Yeah, but we wanted to do Art of War, but everything here is really nice, right? We've got 2,800 mana bar. That's probably just enough mana to get the job done. Our HP is still well and truly over the HP breakpoint, so we're going to survive bursts. The HP breakpoint, as near as I can tell, is somewhere around 3,800 HP. I could be wrong about that. If I am, just adjust the gearing slightly to be a little bit thicker, or eat the damn wild blossom berries from Fellwood. They're instant. Just do it. Then you'll be 3,966 HP. It should be more than enough. Your spell power is over 105, which means you're going to have slightly stronger exorcisms and slightly stronger holy lights. That's actually kind of a big deal, believe it or not. It's just a better gearing. But yeah. Oh, more importantly, you have the fire resist. So your options are to go the wailing. If you're doing wailing berserkers, you cannot support the fire resist. If you go 3-piece lamellar and 3-piece knightly, suddenly you have enough stamina that you can start sacrificing in HP and pick up the fire resist, and you can do you get all the benefits that you've been seeing from me dueling, right? Now, if you're dueling a rogue, fire resist doesn't really do all that much for you. If you're dueling a druid, fire resist doesn't do all that much for you. If you're dueling paladins, fire resist doesn't do all that much to you. But if you're fighting Horde for any length of time, you'll notice that fire resist is 100% the way to go. No matter what, she's always there for you for grenade purposes, right? So, I don't know what it is at level 50, but off the top of, oh, right, you'd also change out this enchantment here would become fire resist enchantment. Nobody has access to the plus 15 fire resist enchant, which is kind of sad right now. We don't have access to the Nixia trinket, which has a ton of fire resist on it. There's a bunch of like little fire resist things that we're missing right now, which is kind of sad. It should say 62, yeah. So with the aura, you'll have 107 fire resist. That is about a 40 to a 45%, somewhere around there, as near as I can tell, chance to resist grenades at current level. So even versus rogues, the chance the fact that you're resisting grenades 45% of the time is pretty terrifying. The best weapon damage enchant right now for rogues, I do believe, is and for most classes is the fiery weapon enchant. Your fire resist will do surprisingly well against that. And then, of course, if you're ever running into anything that actually is spitting fire at you, like shamans and mages spit a lot of fire these days, and even warlocks are throwing around a lot of fire, fire resist is 100% the way to go. I don't think you have enough plus healing to support 100 HP librams. That's what I'm trying to say. Another good option that I definitely did on my paladin over here is weapon enchant. You'll notice that I didn't go with plus 15 agility or plus 15 strength or anything like that on my damn weapon. I went for intellect on my two-handed weapon. So I literally just slapped a plus 9 intellect on my two-handed weapon. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how I'm getting a 3,800 HP mana bar. So if you're willing to give up your plus 15 agility or your fiery weapon enchant or your, what is it? Weapon chain, there we go. If you're willing to give up that, know that at current level, plus intellect is probably one of the better weapon enchants, believe it or not. I don't think anybody has access to the plus 22 intellect to weapon, but most people have access to like plus 9 intellect on their weapon. Sounds dumb, like enchant two-handed weapon, major intellect. It sounds dumb, but look, suddenly we're almost to a 3,000 mana bar on a deep rep paladin with fire resist. Like, what the balls? And then suddenly, because you're putting 9 intellect on your weapon, you can gear slightly differently and yada yada yada. But so far we're getting mana from 3-piece Lamellar. Neck piece is a spell damage neck piece. Spell damage epic bracers. Spell damage cloth epic bracers. Spell damage cloth waist. And then I think we have a Cyclopean band here. Yeah. And that's it. What's our plus hit look like? Melee hits now drop to 4.2%. Everything here is good. I might be over hit capped, so it's okay to be over hit capped in PvP. And believe it or not, you don't actually, your hit cap in PvP is not 5%. It's actually closer to 6%. It's because often enemies are running around with a defense gear, which means you need even more plus hit gear, especially for Seal of Martyrdom. But if I could, maybe I'd swap out something else. Like suddenly I don't need this ring anymore. This epic ring could easily be something else, a bit more damage oriented. Prove a chance to hit with spells and attacks. I don't really need that. Thank you. Intellect, Harbinger, intellect. I just want stamina. Is that okay with you? Prove a chance to hit. It's just all hit. That sucks. Hit and 36 attack power. Whatever. So suddenly I don't need this epic ring anymore. It was coming at the opportunity cost of something else, and you could just throw something else on there. But being a slightly over hit capped isn't the worst thing in the world. So anyways, that's how I look at things. That's how I see things. If you're a deep rep, the big takeaway from all of this is that if you are a deep rep paladin and your master plan is, I am going to use repent, like there's multiple points of failure that people have for deep rep paladin PvP. The first point of failure is that they're going to pretend they're a warrior and completely ignore their mana bar. Terrible, terrible, awful, no good idea. You will have many opportunities to heal yourself, but you just won't have the mana to heal yourself, and just know that you're already fucking it up as a deep ret paladin. The second point of screw up is that they might have the mana to heal themselves, but they're not using repent correctly. So you should be catching people using Goblin Mortar, Gnomish Net-O-Matic, and your Grenade Trinket. Repent is used to heal yourself to full. Hodgestun is used to heal yourself to full or to go all in on a kill, one of the two, right? But if you're using Repent to heal yourself, that usually means you have Hodgestun free to go all in to actually try to put enough damage to actually kill people. But yeah, so Repent primarily should be used defensively or tactically. You want to avoid, if at all possible, using Repent offensively. Repent is not there to help you catch people. Repent is there to let you go double Holy Light for no good reason. It is there to let you sit on top of people as a deep ret paladin while full life, right? So, in other words, imagine two scenarios here, right? It's just hard to explain. Yeah. Am I right about that? I am right about that, yeah. Okay, why is this? Because Repent lasts 6 seconds, it gives you 5 seconds to heal or to run towards or towards your opponent. So when you're using it for catching people, you're usually repenting. You're running towards them for like 3.5 seconds, and then you have enough time to put one Holy Light into yourself. But usually it looks like it's like you repent them, you put one Holy Light into yourself, and then you run over towards them, and then hopefully your weapon swing timer isn't quite off of weapon swing timer, which is awkward when they come out of repent. Yeah, it's like, okay, you put one Holy Light into yourself, like what's I don't know how to describe it. But just try both, and you'll immediately see the difference. Words are really failing me here, because I don't play a lot of deep ret paladin. I've just watched enough Jakova, and I've watched enough videos of other top tier deep ret paladins, and I played it myself to know that for whatever reason they're not using Repent to catch people typically. They're using Goblin Mortar and Gnomish Net-O-Matic to catch people. They're using grenades to catch people, and they're using Repent almost exclusively for a double Holy Light heal. Or they're using it tactically for whatever reason. And it just makes sense in my brain that those are the better options. Partly it's because of like swing timer issues, right? Because you can swing on someone, do damage to them, judge damage into them, like Exorcism, Crusader Strike, then repent them and do double Holy Lights. And then while your Exorcism is on cooldown, while your Crusader Strike is on cooldown, while your Judgment is on cooldown, you're just healing yourself to full. When the enemy comes out of the repent, yeah, you don't have an auto attack because you double Holy Lighted yourself. But congratulations, Crusader Strike is back, Exorcism is about to be back, Judgment is probably back, and you're just all over them again, doing more damage. Also, if you're using Repent to heal yourself, this means you don't have to use Hodgestun to heal yourself, which is a really big deal. So you can use Hodgestun offensively, and you can combine them in all kinds of ways that I talked about in previous videos. So, for example, you can Goblin Mortar stun somebody, run up to them, bitch slap them a little bit, repent them, and then double Holy Light yourself off of the repent. And by the time, is it 6 seconds? I think it is 6 seconds. By the time the repent wears off, your Hodgestun will not have a DR. I think, I can't remember how I did it in the previous video. I have a previous video showcasing, oh no, it had to do with Rebuke, right? Yeah, I think I used Rebuke, or did I not use Rebuke? I can't remember. Ooh. Let me think. But what I'm trying to explain is, I think it only I think you only need 6 seconds between DRs for the DR to reset is what I'm trying to explain, right? And or it might be 8 seconds, I can't remember. But there's a chain sequence where you like stun them with a grenade, then you repent them, and then when they come out of the repent, you go for like a Hodge stun on them for 2 seconds. And then after the Hodge stun of 2 seconds, or even after the 6 seconds of repent, I think that's literally how it works. I think it's just grenade stun for 3 seconds, but you wait for the grenade stun to wear off. Then you repent them for 6 seconds, and when the repent stun wears off, you can actually Hodge stun them for 6 seconds. There's no DR on the Hodge stun. But worst case scenario, you have to stun them for an extra 2 seconds with the Hodge stun because it doesn't share DR with the grenade stun, or my bad, the Seal of Justice stun because it doesn't share DR. There's a chain there where you can effectively CC your enemy for well over 10 seconds for like an extraordinarily long period of time, and that's kind of how you kill them. Oh, I remember. Okay, it's that you grenade stun them, and then you get on top of them, and then the first bit of CC you don't like to see as a deep rep paladin, you bubble. It's like literally, it's like, oh, you got grenade stunned. Okay, cool. Just bubble the grenade stun. You got title charmed. You got goblin mortar. Don't care. Just grenade stun it. You got turned into a block of ice. Don't care. Just bubble it. Like literally, just bubble the first bit of CC that would get you physically off of your opponent, and then you just beat the tar out of them. You use bubble purely offensively. And then when you come out of bubble purely offensively, you repent them because repent does not share a CD with the other stuns. And then you use a repent's 6 seconds to just double holy light yourself. So you didn't heal in bubble, you healed in repent, which is weird. And then when they come out of repent, you can Hodge stun them for 6 seconds to start beating the crap out of them. Terrifying kill combo you can use on your enemies. I remember that rebuke was part of the equation because if the enemy tries to heal while you're in bubble, you try to interrupt their heal with a combination of rebuke and Crusader strikes and auto attacks using Seal of Justice stun. So yeah, it's a terrifying chain that you should get used to doing as a paladin. But you'll note that we caught them with Goblin Mortar, we caught them with No Machine-O-Matic, we caught them with Title Charm, we caught them with a grenade stun. You're catching them with your trinkets, and this allows you to use everything else and its dog offensively. But what's allowing you to use bubble offensively is the fact that you're using repent to heal yourself to full, while at the same time using repent's extra duration to reset the cooldown on the stun duration. Learn to use repent defensively. Wear the proper trinkets. If you have no, just use a Goblin Mortar and use a No Machine-O-Matic, and you'll see what the hell I'm talking about. As long as you have a thick enough mana bar to heal yourself, you'll be like, wow, Paladin, that's much better. Ugh. I'm like, yeah, all top tier rep Paladins do that. Enjoy. Personally, though, if I was playing a deep rep Paladin, I would just go Sacred Shield and the Resistance Librams and just laugh at people and grind them into pulp. Literally do what I'm doing in my dueling guides, except now you have Repent to play with, so it makes it effectively even better. So you'll notice I'm chasing people around until I can get physically on top of them. When I finally am on top of them, I have a Wreck Bomb, usually to put into them. My Wreck Bomb's not super powerful, so it only takes out 2/3 of the target's life. But sometimes she high rolls and she gets them low enough to the point where the Wrath trinket comes into play and I can just kill people. So about, 1 in 4 Wreck Bombs, I'll just delete people out of existence. If it's a squishier target like a mage, a full Wreck Bomb will drop them into Wrath range and they'll just pretty much die instantly. We've seen that in duels. But the vast majority of the cases, I'm just, engaged in like a soft mana war with them. So if they don't die to the Wreck Bomb, they just die from going and I just don't and I survive everything and I kill them just fine. But Repent is a very easy replacement for Reckoning under those combat conditions, because what Repent does is she makes it far more comfortable for you to heal to full, but she also lets you close the distance. So this Paladin is durable enough that you're not going to take enough damage that you need to double Holy Light yourself with Repent. Instead, what you're going to be doing is you're probably going to be doing like 1 Holy Light and 1 Flash of Light and then running after after the enemy, which is perfect. Because it lets you use Repent to both heal yourself to full and as a closer, just because of how durable you are, in effect, if that makes any sense. So Repent will be used both defensively and offensively, just because you have Sacred Shield and all the other plus healing and durability options, which means that, yes, basically the difference is that the Reckoning Paladin is physically on top of the enemy far less often, but when they do get physically on top of the enemy, there is at least a Wreck Bomb that got put into the enemy, right? But with the Repent Paladin, you don't have the Wreck Bomb, but you can use Repent to simultaneously top yourself off healing-wise and close the distance with the enemy, because you don't need to double Holy Light in order to top yourself off as this style of Paladin. Which means that even though you don't have a Wreck Bomb when you're physically on top of the opponent, you're going to be on top of the opponent far, 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 far more often. And more importantly, you can start wearing better trinkets like Mark of the Chosen. I wouldn't use Uthered Strength. I would still use a Goblin Mortars here, but hopefully you get the idea. The gearing that I'm showing in the dueling videos might be better suited to a Deep Ret Paladin than it even is for a Holy Reckoning Paladin under current PvP conditions. But I don't know. But again, those are your three options, right? Option 1 is you use the Wailing Berserkers, 3-piece Lamellar. Option 2 is that you use, but you can't use resist Librams, or play the resist game. Option 2 is that you use 3-piece Lamellar in conjunction with, all right, the Wailing Berserkers is Art of War. Option 2 is you use Art of War with the 3-piece Lamellar and the 3-piece Knightlies. This build can play the resist game, so highly suggested that you do fire resist Libram enchants. And then the final build, of course, is the one that I've just been dueling with. You just make yourself a damn Ret Paladin. You don't have Art of War, you use Sacred Shield instead. And you're using Knightly's 3-piece, and you're using 3-piece Lamellar. There's also an argument to be made that this gear right here could also be used for Sacred Shield, believe it or not. Having 105 spell power is not that far off in the grand scheme of things from having 202 plus healing. Wouldn't really recommend it though, but Sacred Shield on a Deep Ret Paladin is not the worst thing in the world, believe it or not. But Sacred Shield in conjunction with the resist game is absolutely amazing. You can really do whatever you want. It's kind of a season to taste thing. The last thing to note is, how the hell do you even get the fire resist Libram enchants? Go to Wowhead or wherever the heck you want and search for Dark Keeper. Oh, it paused the video when I typed Dark Keeper key, didn't it? Did it pause the video when I typed Holy Light? Let me see how much time we got in this video. It's over an hour, so no. That's the first pause. Okay. Drink water here. Anyways, go to Wowhead, type in Dark Keeper key, and then press enter, and it'll pop up this stupid thing. And what'll happen is you have to go to the vault room in Blackrock Depths. And when you're fighting the boss there, there's a painting on the wall, and you open up this painting on the wall, and it'll have the name of a dude. It'll be one of these 6 guys. A name will pop up, and this spawns the Dark Keeper somewhere in Blackrock Depths. Now, one of the worst ones I think is it's either Oogle or Bethic. I can't remember. One of these jerks spawns in. Where is it? Yeah, Grim Guzzler. One of these guys spawns in the Grim Guzzler. They're like mini boss fights. They're not that hard. The dude just casts frost bolts that do like 800 damage at you, but he runs out of mana and then he hits you like a little girl. So I've 2-manned it before. Killing the Dark Keeper, it's not that big of a deal. Getting to the vault, you can't 2-man, but killing the Keeper, you could definitely 2-man. But you open up a painting, it'll spawn somewhere around here. I know that 4 out of 5 of these guys like spawn like really, really close. Literally, if I had a map of Blackrock Depths, I'll probably pull that up. Probably pull up a map here in a second. But what I found that I had to do is I had to like click on these jerks, and it would pull them up, and then I literally had to like read the comments as to where the hell these guys are in Blackrock Depths. So I read the comment: take the northern pass after Incendius, follow up the rant. He's in the Hall of Crafting. Urgle with 2 elites. Yeah, blah 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 blah. He's in the Hall of Crafting. If you make your way up to the vault, you can also go through the door to the left side of the vault entrance. He's right there. He's got 2 elite guards. Yeah. So if I go Black Rock, the P, of course, is going to pause the video. I want a map of Blackrock Depths. So hopefully there's like guides for Blackrock Depths, engineering guide, classic dungeons overviews. Yeah, sure. I just want a view of like the Blackrock Depths vault, if you'd be so kind. Blackrock Depths. Okay, cool. Someone give me a map. Someone give me a map. Okay, cool. You guys can't see anything. Let's find the vault. So this is the arena. The vault is somewhere close to the arena. I think the vault is like right here. This map is useless. This map is completely useless. Whatever. But you have to like read the things, and you get the Dark Keeper key, and then you go back to the vault room and you open up this stupid Dark Keeper vault. All right, you follow me on this? And inside the Dark Keeper vault is where multiple items, Dark Keeper key, comments, guides, BRD, farming guide. Yeah, okay, cool. But that's where you get the maps for your libram fire resist enchants. I forget, it's like Living Flame or something like that. I think it's called Living Flame. Ew. Living Flame? Is that right? Ugh. Maybe it's Everlasting. Everflame? Lasting? Smoldering? Damn it. I have no idea what this mat is called. Search Flame! Or whatever. Libram. How about that? Libram of Resilience. I do believe that is the Libram. Yes, yes. Objective. Guides. Indeed. The Akram guide. This is the other place I have to go. I gotta go to the stupid Libram guide. Here it is. It's the essence. The burning essence. Thank God. Burning essence. Thank you. All right. Objective of Libram Resilience. Guides. Yeah. Comments. Drops fairly often. If you're lucky, you can get 2 in the same coffer. You get the Dark Coffer key off certain Dark Master, depending on, what it says in the pictures. Perfect, right? Literally just what I'm describing. So you get the damn the Dark Keeper key. You go back to the relic room, and you open up the middle coffer in the center. You can drop a bunch of goodies, but more importantly, it has mats for like the plus 150 mana Librams. It's got Spirit Libram mats, and then it's got this. This is required along with Libram Resilience to get the plus 20 fire resist enchant. The head and leg items. It is great boost to anyone for good fire resist. It can be challenging to obtain, though. It has a 50% drop rate from the Dark Coffer, which means you may have to means that you may only see it drop once in every 2 runs. You then need to also battle it out with other members of the group, meaning often not in Season of Discovery, but often usually when you form a Relic Coffer group in BRD, you make sure only one person needs the Burning Essence, right? Because if you don't, then it can be a problem. And the Dark Copper Key can sometimes spawn in awkward places. Yeah. I recommend you make good friends with a level 60 rogue and pay them 20 to 30 gold to go in and get one for you. They can generally solo it easily depending upon the Copper Key location. You then give them the Libram of Resilience and the other mats and let them do the enchant for you. Fascinating. I didn't know that. Yeah, so rogues like doing like relic coffer key runs. So okay, that's cool. Luckily, I have a good rogue friend who can go get that for me. I'll remember that. Hmm. Oh, hey, this is nice. Check this out. Dark Keeper, Ugoth, West Garrison, room with Anger Forge. Dark Keeper, what's his face, is in the coffer room. This is the jerk. Okay, so it's a Vole who's in the Grim Guzzler. Fuck that guy. It's a little bit different in Season of Discovery where they spawn, but the vast majority of them spawn right next to the vault room. Like 4 of them, like right next to the vault room, or like literally down in the arena, which is really, really nice. So yeah, a little bit of an adventure to get these librams, but once you know it, it's not the hardest thing in the world. Anyways, I'm gonna end the video here, and Deus Vult, boys. Yep. But yeah, so I thought a lot about deep rep paladins, and I've been watching you guys with like what your gearing is and so forth, and mostly I just see you're not using repent properly. You're not using bubble properly. You're not using repent properly. Repent should be used for healing. It allows you to use your Hodge stun offensively. It allows you to use your bubble purely offensively. And if you're chaining things together correctly, you can put together one hell of a terrifying chain, like I said, where you're catching them with like a grenade or a goblin mortar stun. Then you're basically bubbling and beating the tar out of them while in bubble. You're just sitting on them with a 12-second bubble, like Crusader Striking, Exorcisming, Judging, and possibly even Divine Storming on them. Just like, what the hell? And if they try to heal, you're either interrupting them with... what am I trying to say? You're interrupting them either with an attempted HOJ stun or a Seal of Justice stun, or you're using Rebuke. If you're using Rebuke, of course, you won't have Exorcism, which means you're probably not using Art of War, which means you're probably not using Seal of Martyrdom either, which means you are probably using Avenger's Shield, which catches... no, using Rebuke. What am I talking about? You're probably using Divine Storm, which is fine, right? Divine Storm, Crusader Strike, Judgment, all in while in bubble. Really good stuff. Get them on cooldown. Yeah, Rebuke and whatnot. Really good kill combo. But yeah, make sure your mana bar is thick enough that you can heal yourself. What the hell are you guys doing? 2,800 mana bar minimum. I think the bare minimum is like 2,500 mana bar. Highly suggest you have more of the 2,800-ish mana bar, and 3,000 mana, of course, is just going to make you super comfy. If it was me, I would just use Sacred Shield and just gear the way I'm gearing with the fire resist enchants and laugh at people. Anyways, I'm ending the video here, and Deus Vult, boys.